people who are very tense, and not just like in their body, but in their lives, in their mind, in how they act. They react to things very, very quickly. Someone steps in front of them in the queue in a shop, and they just like they want to fight them instantly. Breathing, just giving some breathing or some kind of meditative work for that type of person, I think can be good, because they are living in a constant state of probably stress. So just getting them to lie down and relax for a while can be very good. And usually they're the same type of person that will be very tense in their body. They have a tense mind and a tense body. And which came first, I don't know, but we probably need to work on a little bit of both. So just getting them to chill the mind and getting them to move their body. And usually I think both tends to help. That's why people go for a walk in nature. It gets their bones moving, it gets their joints moving, it gets them to relax, it gets them to open their senses, not just like live in the moment in front of them, but open their world up. Their breath, usually their heart rate, kind of things start to just come down a little bit. So for someone that's very tense, first of all, I'll put them up there. They need to work on breathing stuff usually, I think. Even if you think about the pause in the breathing work, we take an inhale and we take an exhale. We take an inhale and actually there should be a pause. We take an exhale and there should be a pause. But these people, they don't pause in their lives at all. Someone does something to them in the car and they jump on the horn. Someone does something to them in the shop and they jump. There's no moment of reflection, the moment of pause, reflection, and then actually now I can act. They just act. They just react to everything. So these people, if you look at them breathing and you ask them to inhale and do a long exhale and take a pause, they can't pause. They have to gasp for air immediately. So the pause is something that's missing, I think, in their lives in general. So that's someone that's like definitely, I think, would benefit in every way from doing that. Other people, if you see someone that maybe really struggles to flex their spine, their thoracic spine in particular, I know a lot of people do thoracic spine flexion drills, and I think they can definitely work. But sometimes my first thing would be to look at actually, can they put air into that area and expand that area back there, and open up all that kind of posterior mediastinum, which is all that space just around the back of the rib cage, let's just say. Then if you have someone that maybe struggles to go into the spinal extension, thoracic spine in particular, and not even just extension, but because we can go into extension, but you can keep your chest quite closed when you do that. So it's more about actually getting expansion through the chest wall. So maybe someone who has very rounded shoulders, and which there's nothing wrong with at all, but they might be maybe losing movement options and not be able to move in a certain way. So I would be trying to get them to maybe open their chest a bit more with the breath. And then if you think about, these are just base level things, but you think about someone who maybe struggles to laterally flex and side bend their spine, maybe that's where like they need to side bend and close one side and breathe and be able to really open up the other side. So those are some simple things. But in general, I think when you start to dive deep into the biomechanics stuff, when you see people with very tight feet and tight ankles and tight hips, like if they have very tight feet and ankles, usually they have very tight hips, and usually they don't move their spine very well. They don't move their shoulders very well. So rather than trying to run around the whole body and stretch each isolated area, which I think a lot of people do, I think if you can not necessarily start, but if you have a focus on mobilizing the middle of the body, getting the ribs and the spine moving really well, I feel like that kind of proximal mobility starts to spread out and opens up the shoulders, the hips, the knees, the ankles as well.